Dear friends, I am Dr. Thompson Ntuba Akwo, international physician, international politician, international communicator, certified professional and expert in global health USA. Updates on UNGA. The 76th United Nations General Assembly taking place at the headquarters in the city of New York, in the nation or the state of the USA. The global leaders, Xi of China, Macron of France, Johnson of England, Ramaphosa of South Africa, Buhari of Nigeria, and all the other little presidents of the little countries, those little countries, in Africa and South America, those little life presidents of those little tiny little bit countries who were not even sure that the credential committee was going to credential them to speak as presidents of those countries because of terroristic armed struggles inside those little villages that they call countries, in Africa, especially in Francophone Africa, where people have killed people over the years for more than 60 years, making themselves life presidents for 40 years, and they want to continue even after the age of 90 and to force their sons on the people like they do in Gabon and Mabongo and those little midgets that he left in all of those little places who are trying to use the foolishness of sports, they call it AFCON or whatever, to deceive the world, are plotting to continue killing people. Those human rights abusers who use subtle forms of terrorism and witchcraft and all of those things to continue to live in power, like you have been told all over the world, in Europe, in Asia, in the Americas and other places, about what they do. Those same people that Trump has been talking about, the United Nations bringing terrorists who kill their own people, who have no use for their people but for the monies and the resources they steal from their countries, working with their associates and accomplices in the West, as China has been revealing the human rights abuses of the West. Yes, UNGA is taking place and people are trying to reset, but with all of these suspicions of the world going back into the Cold War days of being divided into groups and nations, China and communism and Russia or the USSR and their friends in Europe and America and the West and whatever is the West today that me and you don't actually know, because if we were talking about the West, we would have been talking about the United Kingdom and the kingdoms of the European Union. But the suspicion, like Emmanuel Macron said, that Europe has to be watching the United States or suspicious of the United States as he bears on, while the United States work with the Brexit people in Boris Johnson and the others, the Trump-related people and friends, to make sure that the European Union doesn't overshadow the American States Union. And so that is the context and the situation that we have at hand. We the people who make up the United Nations, whose taxes are used in the paying of the dues of the United Nations. Our United Nations have been receiving some of these people in New York. Many of them are already talking about COVID-19 and the things that they hide behind as they deceive and they fool the people. Yes, President Biden has already welcomed the leaders, or whoever they call themselves, whether they are leaders of who, I don't actually know. Because it's not called democracy when one person can manipulate, change the constitution as they want and just deceive the minions who did not even go to university. Some of them call themselves senators and mayors or whatever, and they bribe them behind and they call themselves leaders of whoever those villages they come from, that they are people. That's the context. That is the situation. That's the background against which this nonsense is taking place. But you know what? The people who are smart enough are watching. America is watching everybody in Europe. Europe is watching America. America is watching the Americas. South America is watching, and everybody is watching. But as it is said, we have a common enemy, which is COVID-19. That needs to be dealt with. COVID-19 itself is an armed struggle, some people say. Though they wonder how we in medicine cannot explain why a little tiny bit of a virus can get into us and throw us humans on the ground as if we are little dogs. That actually shows how weak we human beings are, even though we make a lot of noise and want to think that we are gods. Where we go to sacred societies and get powers with those headquarters of those sacred societies in the West, we know them. And as they come to those countries and they use millions, some of them call themselves prime ministers, ministers without portfolios. They call themselves things that they cannot defend. And they are about to come to the United Nations to tell lies about Boko Haram and all the other armed struggles that injustice have created in their country. Don't listen to idiots. They got nothing to lecture to tell you. All over the place there is injustice. There is police killing residents. There are residents killing police. There is human rights abuse everywhere. The same people who are talking against the white community are killing white people, and black people are killing blacks. But you know what? We need to come together to fight COVID, to fight armed struggle, to take care of the needs of refugees, climate change, and all the problems which are happening in the world. That is what is being discussed at UNGA. Human rights abuses taking place in all nations of the world need to be addressed. And so, while you follow